In this video, I'm going to do an update on a few different stocks that you see in the title of the video. These are stocks that I'm personally interested in, and these are stocks that a lot of other people are possibly interested in too. So starting off with Tilray, it's not looking good, but exactly like I told you in the last update video. And this is why using moving averages are so powerful. And you don't really have to make it more complicated than that. Like you don't have to use Bollinger Bands and all these other like if we take a look at the indicators, for example, like there's like so many different indicators. And personally, I've been trading for like 15 years and moving averages are the best indicator. On top of moving averages, sometimes I use the super trend. As you can see, like it depends on the chart. It is helpful. But in the last video, I told you that once it broke this 50-day moving average on the daily chart, it is going to come down and test the 200, which it did right on the money. And as of today, it's looking pretty bad. It broke this 200 moving average. And I told you that if it breaks this 200 moving average, the next trade down is going to be all the way down at 40 cents. And I have an alert set at 40 cents because I'm going to buy as much as possible at that price point. Because at 40 cents, if we take a look at the weekly, so let's open the weekly chart. So if it goes back down to 40 cents, it is going to create a double bottom. But I'm not going to go and just smash buy at 40 cents. I am going to be a little bit more careful than that. And if you're watching my videos, you should use the same strategy. Again, come up with your own strategy, something that works for you. Nothing is trading or financial advice. So when it trades down to 40 cents, I want to see a clear bounce off the 40 cents. So it could potentially go below 40 cents. If the 40 cents support right here could break because we're getting a 1-to-10 reverse stock split on December 2nd. So what that means, so for example, at this current price point, if the stock split happened like today, this stock would be trading at like $8. You just multiply it by 10. When it does trade down to 40 cents, which is like based on the chart, like very predictable that it is going to go all the way down to 40 cents again. After the stock split, you're going to see the price as $4, but nothing really changed. It's the chart is going to look exactly the same. The chart, the moving averages, everything, the volume, everything is going to look exactly the same. The only thing that will change is the relative price. So once it trades down to 40 cents, which I predict it will, like I'm giving it like a 95% chance it's going to go down to 40 cents. And after the reverse stock split, you're going to see the price as $4. And because it's going to be at $4, there's a chance, like say, like a 50-50 chance that it could go below $4 just because we got a sell signal on the weekly and it's looking pretty bad on the technical, you know? Like if you're following my channel, this green line back in July 21st is when I first called this stock when I was trading at like 60 cents. You can go watch that video and we took advantage of this massive rally. So we did pretty good from that call, but at this point, as you can see, we got a sell signal on the weekly and that's pretty powerful. And this 50-day moving average on the weekly is on a clear downtrend. Like you see the slope, it's sloping down. If you don't know what a slope means, just please Google it. I'm not gonna like explain all this like minute detail or definitions of different words. So it's on a down slope, okay? This 50-day moving average on the weekly chart. So it's clearly going to trade down to 40 cents, but after the reverse stock split, a good chance that it will trade below $4. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for a bounce back above 40 cents or $4 after the reverse stock split. Once I see that bounce off this support line right here, even if it trades below it for like a couple of days or maybe a whole week, but once I see it start to bounce right off of it, that's when I am just going to personally load the board because a double bottom is very powerful. I don't see anything wrong with the stock on the fundamentals. They are bringing in revenue. Like the last quarter, they generate $200 million in revenue. So that's not minute. This is a big company. This is a major company, a market cap of almost $1 billion. And I believe their price to sell ratio is desirable also. So let's take a look at their price to sell ratio. Yep, I showed you this on the last video, but look at their price to sell ratio is 1.44, which is like insanely low. As you can see, like back in 2019, it was almost as high as 285. So for me, the stock is desirable on the books. You know, there's news that come in that make the price jump up drastically like we saw here. Some other news, let's see what the news is that is making this price drop. Yeah, I briefly glanced over the news. I don't see anything significant. I think it's just a technical drop. Like it couldn't hold the moving averages. So it's just like a classic textbook technical drop in price. It's trending down, but we can definitely take advantage of it. I personally, again, one more time, I'm going to tell you, I am going to load the absolute freaking boat at 40 cents or $4 after the reverse stock split. once I see it start to like trend back up, because from that, for me personally, it's like a very easy, like at least 100%, it's going to go back up to like $1. Or if it's trading at, after the reverse stock split, like back to like $10. So for me at that point, it would be like a super easy trade. Like, so that is my game plan. I have my alerts set at 40 cents. Please give this video a like. Let's try to get to 200 likes. If you want continuous update on Tilray, please let me know in the comment section. One more thing I want to show you real quick. My mind, it's kind of all over the place, but take a look at this. So when it comes to the technical, according to like the professionals, if you don't consider me a professional, 0 buy, 16 sell. I'm not a professional, by the way. 0 buy, 16 sell, 10 neutral. So strong sell as of right now on the daily. Let's check the weeklies. Even on the weekly, a strong sell. So everyone is giving it a sell rating. So, there's a pretty obvious trade right now. I wouldn't be in this stock. I personally, we did. Like, a lot of people saw that video when I posted that back on July 21st, and I go watch that video because it's good learning lesson. So you're not dependent on me or other YouTubers. You want to get to a point where you understand how different people are thinking and come up with a strategy that works for you. So go to my channel page and just search Tilray and go watch that first video I dropped, and like how we're able to take advantage of this insane rally. So this is all the updates I wanted to bring you on Tilray. A strong sell recommendation from like pretty much every single professional technical analysis. A strong sell recommendation for me too. But I'm telling you, like, once it gets to 40 cents, it's game on for me personally. So next, we're taking a look at Opendoor stock, and it is on a downtrend, a clear downtrend. Like, I guess for the past couple of days, or last week for the past couple of days, it tried to come up and test this 50-day moving average. But as you can see, this is the classic textbook. It's going to continue to slope down, and this price is going to continue to trade down. So the next thing we have to watch out for is that, does this $5.86 price point act as a support? So the first time it comes down to like this $5.86, it could potentially bounce up a little bit, maybe like a 20% bounce up. But if it breaks this $5.86, then the next leg down is definitely to this 200-day moving average. So it's going to come all the way down to like right here. This stock long term, especially when it comes to 2026, is going to be like one of the best performing stocks. I'm going to explain to you exactly why. So this is something that I am personally going to keep on my radar. I am very excited for this company when it comes to next year, because I believe in March or April of 2026, Jerome Powell is going to be out of the office. And Jerome Powell is a very principled guy, okay? So he's not falling into the pressure being put on him by Trump and his administration to drop the interest rate. He's very principled. I think he's just doing what he believes is the correct thing to do. So recently, you saw like all the stocks drop is because he was supposed to drop the interest rate even more, but he didn't. There's something going on with the interest rate where like people were expecting it to drop a lot more than what Jerome Powell finally decided he would do. So the interest rate affects the entire market. So that's a whole separate video on its own, why that is. Actually, the whole stock market is fucking fake. This is all just fugazi money. And this is kind of a side note, but I'm feeling very talkative today in this video. So one way the stock market is bullshit. So this is it's a side note, but it's very interesting and it just came to my mind just now. So I'm going to give you this information, and it's super interesting. So if you could go back to monthly and you see like, okay, the S&P 500, which is this massive uptrend since 2012, okay? And people look at this and they say, okay, like all the US stocks, all the companies, the US market is doing great. But this is priced against the US dollar. This 15% year over year is because the US dollar is losing more than that year over year. So price against the US dollar, it looks like it's on an uptrend. But the way the stock market is actually kind of bullshit, and I'm being hyperbolic, it's not bullshit. Of course, like we need companies like Meta and Google, but I'm being hyperbolic. But the way is that if you graph the S&P 500 against gold being real money, this isn't real money, it's being priced against fiat. Fiat is like political currency. They can print it at will. But if you price the S&P 500 against gold, it's like it looks like this. So I don't have that chart pulled up, but it looks like this. And sometimes like even trading down. So compared against real money, the S&P 500 is like flat, or sometimes it's even like trending slightly down. So that's something very interesting. If you want to see a video on that, because it takes a lot more research, please let me know if you want to see a video on that topic, because it is kind of interesting. But going back to Opendoor, let me just finish up the analysis on Opendoor. So yeah, the reason I'm long-term excited for Opendoor for next year, 2026, is because, like I told you, March, April, Jerome Powell is going to be out of the office and Trump is going to put someone in Jerome Powell's position who is 100% going to drop the interest rate to zero. 100%. This is like something you can bet your life on, that the interest rate is going to be zero next year in 2026, especially before the midterm election. And that is going to cause one of the biggest rallies in stocks. All the stocks are going to fly. Stocks like Opendoor.com that relies heavily on the interest rate, because this is a company that buys and sells house, which relies on interest rates. So a company like Opendoor.com is going to freaking fly. So if it does come down to this 200-day moving average and it comes down to like $4.41 and it's like bouncing off this 200-day moving average, I personally am going to put in some investment, because I'm looking at a long term. Like next year, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let me just give some like crazy price predictions while we're at it. So next year, yeah, next year, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to an all-time high. That would be like, I would not, absolutely not be surprised if it goes to a new all-time high. And I believe Opendoor is going to do something similar to what Carvana did, which went all the way down to like almost $1. Same thing with Opendoor, it just went like below 50 cents. So next year, let's come back to this video. Next year, I bet Opendoor is going to do something exactly like this, exactly like Carvana did next year. So next year, Opendoor, very hopeful for the stock. If I'm feeling more risky, I might even play some options, some like long-term, like deep call options that expires in like next year of like June, July, or August. So I'll see about that later, but Opendoor is looking very promising long-term. And that's why I'm making an update, and I'm going to keep the stock on my radar because it is a very easy play, a very easy long-term play. If it comes down to these price points right here, for me, it's a buy all day, because even in the short term, if it would trade up another 100, 200%, you can get out, or you can just like simply wait until next year. And you know that next year, this stock is going to trade higher than whatever price point that you buy it at right now, unless something crazy happens, like we find out like they've been scamming people. But you know, I'm just being hyperbolic with that. But unless something insane happens, like this stock, it's set to do exactly something like what Carvana did. It is going to fly next year. But in the short term, it's not looking good for the next couple of days. At least for the next couple of weeks, it is going to trade down to $5.86. And if it breaks up, it is going to come down to this 200-day moving average. And if it starts to bounce off this 200-day moving average, I'm going to start buying, because in the short term, there's a lot of upside potential. So the last stock we're going to talk about is HIMS. And I saw someone posted a comment about this stock like right before I started making this video on the other two stocks. So I'm going to throw this in. This has been on my radar for a while, but I didn't want to like make a video on it, because you'll see why, because it's kind of like a very easy, simple technical analysis. I don't think it's undervalued. It's trading very predictably. I guess what has a lot of people's attention is that the short float is very high. You see like 33%. So a third of the company is shorted, which is incredibly high. And the short ratio is also very high. But for me, like, and we have many examples of this on this channel, just having a high short float isn't enough. The technical setup has to be there. So usually when we find like undervalued stocks, it looks like this, like it's just trading above this 50-day moving average, and the short float is incredibly high, and we see a massive rally like this. And this is all documented on my channel. So you can go to my channel page and look at random videos, and you'll see whenever I tell you a stock is undervalued, these are the two main criteria. Like it just traded above this 50-day moving average compared with the high short float. So in my view, the technicals take precedent over the short float information, and the only fundamental we look at is the short float. So even though the short float is very high, it doesn't really mean much unless some like insane news comes out, but it's going to trade like this. So it's trading in a predictable wave pattern like this. It's probably going to come up, boom, right here. And then it's kind of on a downtrend, and in the next wave right here, it most likely it might come up to this like 50-day moving average on the daily chart, and it is going to get rejected of this 50-day moving average and trade down. So for me, it's like, I don't know, like it's not worth being in the stock or playing it. I would have to wait until it goes all the way down. It might be like next year. So if you take a look at the weekly chart, this stock will become interesting to me at like around $20. So it is definitely on its way to go all the way down to $20. And once it touches this $20 and this 200-day moving average on the weekly chart is acting as a solid support, that's when the stock will become interesting to me. And what I did before actually with the stock, so this is before I was making YouTube videos, I would play the stock on earnings. Because you see, like, for, like, the past couple of earnings, like, right here, so starting from here, like, you see, like, massive, like, it drops, like, on earnings, it will either go up or down, like, 20-30%. So 22% drop here on earnings. This was a massive one, 30%. See right here, it drops. So sometimes it would even go up massively on earnings. So it would either, like, go up or down massively on earnings. So what I personally was doing before I started making YouTube videos on HIMS is that around earnings, like a day or two before an earnings, I would buy call options and put options. So I would buy options in both directions, and one of them would go to zero, and the other one would go up by like 700-800%. And that was like a fun, easy play. It didn't work out the last earnings report because it just kind of like remained. I lost money on both, and that's a risk you have to take. This is like a pure, just like, it doesn't matter. It's like a brain dead like trading strategy. It doesn't matter if you understand anything. You could just buy around earnings, you can just buy both a call out of the money, put out of the money. And if you have information that it is going to be volatile, that it is either going to move up or down 15% on earnings, the options go up by like thousands of percent. Sometimes one of the really out of the money call option was up by 3,000%, but I didn't buy those ones, but I saw stuff like that. So this stock was very interesting to play around earnings. Again, if you want to see something like that, then let me know. I don't make videos on stuff like that because it's kind of like retarded, like gambling type of trades. But if you guys are interested in seeing videos like that, then please let me know. And please give this video a like. Let's try to get this video to 200 likes. Would really appreciate it. And if you enjoy content like this, then please do me a favor, subscribe to this channel, turn on your post notification, interact with me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoy these type of videos, and let me know what else you want to see videos on, and I will see you on the next one.